Meditation and Spiritual Life, Swami Yatiswarananda. False Hopes, the story of Pingala. In the Bhagavatam, there is the story of Pingala, a courtesan who was very greedy for wealth. One day, however, she was disappointed as nobody turned up to meet her. When, through this expectation of money, her countenance sank and she was very much down in spirits, then, as a result of this brooding, and an utter disgust came over her that made her happy. Footnote Bhagavatam. She was really a very fortunate woman. Very few people come to their senses like her. They just go on repeating the same mistakes and have the same dirty experiences over and over again, driven by the same old samskara impressions. My Guru Swami Brahmananda once said, there are three classes of people. The first class learn through just seeing the mistakes and experiences of others and avoid getting into trouble. Those who learn a lesson after themselves, committing a mistake or going through an experience, belong to the mediocre class. The worst type are those who never learn anything even after repeated experiences and mistakes. Do not have any hopes for anything worldly. Have only hopes for the divine. It is the divine alone that brings happiness to the soul. We should feel a sort of disgust at everything sensual. That is the first sign of our real dispassion for the things of the world. And without this dispassion for sense objects and their enjoyment, gross and subtle, no spiritual life, no higher endeavor becomes possible. Dispassion should become a dominant trait if we want to achieve success in spiritual life. Really speaking, we are living on desires and hopes and false hopes at that. That brings only misery, bondage, and slavery to the senses. By giving up hopes, we feel happy. We should see that our only hope is connected with the divine. All other hopes connected with our impulses and desires should be given up. Usually, our hopes are dependent on our desires and on others. We do not center our hopes on the divine. God is immanent in us as the soul of our souls, but we do not care for Him and try to depend on others. God is the source of all bliss. Outside objects only reflect a little of this immeasurable divine bliss. Running after external objects means running after reflections and shadows. In the Mahabharata, there is the story of a king by name Yayati. As a result of a curse, he suddenly became an old man when he was in the prime of his youth. But he borrowed the youth of his son and enjoyed sense pleasures for several hundred years. Even at the end of such a long period, he found that his craving for sense enjoyment had not abated. He then came to the following conclusion: verily, this desire for enjoyment never becomes satisfied through enjoyment. The desires go on increasing and become more and more intense, as in the case of fire when clarified butter is poured into it. न जातु कामः कामानाम् उपभोगेन शाम्यति हविषा कृष्णवत्वर्तमेव भूय एवाभिवर्धते. The story of Yayati occurs in Mahabharata and the Bhagavatam. The above passage is found in the Bhagavatam and also in Manusmriti. The spirit of renunciation must come to us one day or other. It may not come to all with the suddenness that characterized Pingala's change, but we must not be as stupid as Yayati and wait for all our desires to be satisfied. Detachment must become our dominant trait if we wish to gain anything from spiritual life. So many impulses rise in us owing to our previous experiences, but that is no reason why we should give way to them helplessly. We must and can put them down, though this may mean a life of great strain and inner conflict for some time. We must call a halt to our impulsive life someday or other. Why not now? We should be very clear about what we are really doing and should always see that we do not follow the subtle impulses and desires driving us to do things we ought to avoid. If we want to associate with people, we should see why they attract us. If we want to do anything, we should know why we want to do it, the real motive behind our wish. We should find out the root cause of our desires and annihilate it then and there. All harmful ideas and associations, everything that is not favorable to our spiritual growth should be eliminated. True dispassion, renunciation is a common factor in all forms of spiritual discipline, and without this, we cannot make such much out of our spiritual striving. It may take time, but the spirit of renunciation should be there before spiritual life can begin. There should be a true desire and longing for purity. That is the minimum prerequisite for starting the spiritual life. This means great strain. One has to struggle hard to control the senses and the impulses, but this early phase must be passed through by every aspirant on his way to the goal. The spirit of renunciation is the very basis of all true spiritual striving. Without the spirit of dispassion, we had better not even think of spiritual life. It will be wiser for us to take up something else as a pastime.